General MacArthur drops a atomic bomb.
Hello everyone, welcome back. This is 1951, turn 11 for the communists. It's been a rather interesting last couple turns, and for the communists this is probably going to be a pretty short turn. So let's get started. Alright, so for purchases, the Russians are buying, let's see, 10, 15, 18 infantry for the Russians. And China is building 13 infantry and 3 tanks. Just kind of going over the map and just kind of looking. There's really only going to be one attack, and we're going to take a huge risk. And we're going to blitz and see if we can't kill that American jet sitting there in French Equatorial Africa. Other than that, yeah, like I said, there's not going to be any other attacks. Pretty much Russia's going to kind of go into a, what do you want to call it? I mean, Russia and China basically at this point really can only go into sort of a defensive posture against the Allies and kind of just hope to outlast them, at least for a little while longer. So let's just quickly do this attack. So that will be a tank for 3 and a jet for 4. Alright, tank for 3. Miss. Jet for 4. Got it. Alright, so Russia has lost, and Africa is pretty much up for the grabs for NATO to, for the Allies to take it back. I mean, though the Russians do have that, they do have that miner down there in South Africa that could probably help them out a little bit. So then we'll go right into, like I said, I think that was the only attack we were really going to do, because there's nothing over here in Asia that we really could do. Yeah. There's not much I can do in Asia right now. So yeah, we'll just go kind of into the non-combats now. So first thing that we're going to do, we'll get the tripod set up and everything. All right, so starting here, so this Russian First Army is going to fall back into Syria. No sense. Well, do I want to make the Allies fight for every ground? No, I'd rather not. I'd rather try and keep as much of the army intact as possible. Meanwhile, this cruiser, I don't think let's see, I can either retreat him into the Black Sea and have him hide out there, or I can leave him there. I mean, eventually the Allies will come and attack him. And I mean, their Mediterranean fleet is still pretty, I mean, the Allied Mediterranean fleet right here, I mean, not that powerful as far as surface ships goes, but they do have 2 jets off that Essex carrier. You know what? Actually, yeah, we'll retreat back through the straits. These 3 Soviet tanks are going to come and help defend Turkey. And then up here in the north, the way I have it planned is for right now to hold the door open. 1 infantry is coming off of Stalingrad and will come here into the Caucasus to kind of secure a line there. And then we have an infantry we'll be taking an infantry off the Moscow army and putting it up in Vologda to guard the northern approach to Moscow. Other than that, that's pretty much all the Russian moves. Down here for China, I think what we're going to do, I mean, it's going to put this transport at risk, but it's going to go 1, 2, take the tank and infantry off of Sumatra and drop it here in Malaya. Yeah, drop it off there in Malaya. He'll be lost next turn, more than likely. 100% certain on that. Up here in the north, up here in the Great North, I think right now my dispositions for the Chinese forces is, I think what I want to do is I think I'm going to pull 2 infantry off of Peking and at least send them to Shantung to beef up this artillery and anti-aircraft gun here, just to kind of get the coast, at least to get some of the coastal properties defended in depth. Leave the reserve tank armies there, prepped and ready to go for when the Allies do make landfall somewhere. That tank army in Burma is pretty well positioned. And I think at this point, honestly, I'd rather just not those 2 tanks be stuck out there. I think if anything, we're just going to abandon the Kamchatka Peninsula and come back down to Vladivostok and help hold the help shore up the defenses in Amur against a potential depending if the Allies decide to come towards Amur, or I mean, they have all those forces in South Korea, and they have the American transport fleet. They have the American transport fleet just off Japan here, or just outside Japan. And then this fleet is sitting there in the Sea of Japan between the Koreas and Japan. Okay, so we'll just go. So we'll end the turn with deployment. So we have 1 second. Oops. I have 3 Chinese infantry deploying in Manchuria. We have 10 infantry. In this game, greens are worth 10. So gray is 1, red is 5, greens are 10. So dropping in 10 infantry onto Peking. And then we got the 3 tanks, which will drop here in Quichao and join the reserve tank army there to respond to, like I said, to respond to any Allied threats, at least along the axis along the coast here. All right, so at the end of the turn, Russia gets 45 and China gets 54 plus their war bonds roll of 3. So China will get 57. So that is the end of the communist turn. Basically now, like I said, the communists are basically going into full turkey mode or full tortoise mode and just moving into the defense. I mean, the Moscow defenders here are already pretty heavily built up. It's gonna probably take NATO a while to gather all of the necessary forces that would actually need to really drive on the city. So we'll see, but I mean, there are definitely some moves that the Allies will get to do next turn, or for this turn. So until next time, guys, take care. And of course, as always, I make a mistake. I forgot to deploy the Russians. So for the Russians, we have 3 infantry deploying in Turkey. We have 5 more infantry deploying in Stalingrad. And then down here, the Russians are putting 10 infantry into Moscow. Okay. Moscow's looking pretty, like I said, Moscow's looking pretty formidable now. So, again, apologies for that. Now it is the end of the communist turn. So until next time, guys.